Hello everyone, and peace of God with all of you. I want to welcome you to this program called 1 Hour with Bernadette on Facebook Live through the Chaldean radio. This program will be every other Thursday on Facebook Live from 7 to 8 p.m. and it will be replayed on Friday in the evening at 6:30 p.m. and on Saturday at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. For those who are not able to watch it on Facebook, you can hear it on Chaldean radio app. I will begin this program, as I do with every program, with prayer and end with prayer. The purpose of prayer is to become and to receive blessings from God for our families, our community, and our marriages. I also want to thank God for the opportunity to spend this 1 hour with you every other week. I feel privileged and honored to serve you as my community. Opening prayer for today, it's called Rainbow of Confession by Margaret Ann Hoffman and Gary Wild. We are stained like a paint rag by troubles we caused ourselves. Please, Lord, help us. Red color, the color of lost temper and rudeness. Green is a color of envy of others who have it easier than us. We beg and ask for your mercy, Lord, to be with us. The blue color is the shade of despair over something we could not change. Help us to remember, Lord, that you are always there to answer our prayers. The color yellow of running away from our problems and not dealing with them. Lord, rearrange our unsightly smudges into glorious rainbows through your gift of forgiveness for mistakes we have made against you and our loved ones. The subject today, it's going to be how to cope with unsolvable, constant problems, and that is today's subject. The topics for the next 3 programs will be applying forgiveness in your marriage, understanding and dealing with alcoholism in your marriage, managing solvable problems in your marriage. Remember, these 3 programs will be one in Arabic and one in English, and so we're doing it every other week. So we end up covering one topic, and it is usually done like today. We have it in English. July 11th will be in 2 weeks, and that will be applying forgiveness in your marriage in Arabic. And we'll also begin, as we do usually, with limits for this program so we all have an understanding of what to expect from this hour from me. I will not be counseling during this show. I cannot resolve personal issues. I am here to open the conversation regarding life challenges and daily problems that confront all of us. Again, I don't mean to suggest that your personal issues are not important, because I know they are very important, and I feel emotionally charged conversations should take place with a professional counselor who's familiar with those issues. Please call me by my first name, and don't call me Dr. Bernadette. In America, a licensed clinical social worker with a master's degree and licensed, like myself, is not called a doctor. Other countries may call that. I am licensed clinical social worker in California, and my practice is in San Diego, El Cajon. I will not be addressing political and or sexual preferences with same-sex relationship issues on this show. For the personal privacy of you, the viewers, I will not be addressing names of people or the country they are from. Of those who are giving comments through Facebook, I will not personally respond to your comments via Facebook. I will pick and choose which questions to answer, and I will not be answering them in the order they came. I will not be answering the questions that are different than the topic of this day, of today's topic. I will try to address the issues in future programs. I apologize in advance to those of you who would like me to answer your questions in a timely response. Thank you for participating, and I wish you the best. I want to thank all of you viewers and listeners on Chaldean Radio and Facebook. Thank you to all of those of you who have contributed through your comments, support. This program will not exist without your support and without you taking the time to listen to it. I am very appreciative and grateful to get your feedback. Thank you again for your kind words and support. May God, richly bless you and fill you with His love and grace. I believe it is extremely important that every listener understands the purpose and boundaries of the show. Thank you again for participating, and I hope that you become a regular listener. I will do my best to address topics that you wish for me to present on this show. I am open to your feedback and your suggestions and questions. Today's subject is how to cope with unsolvable constant problems. I'm just going to explain what I mean by that. This topic, what it means is when you find yourself with your husband as a wife, or you as a husband with your wife, confronting or managing some issues, and you tend to repeat them. And you tend to go kind of like round and round, and we call it looping, and not knowing how to get out of that problem. And you're very, very stuck. And every marriage, 69% of couples that are doing very well in their marriages have these issues. So you're not unique. To please not think that if you have any problems that you're not able to solve, that means there's something wrong with you. Not at all. All I'm doing is really providing you with new skills to learn to cope with these ongoing, perpetual, constant problems. And again, most of my information is taken from Dr. Gottman's research, from Dr. Sue Johnson, and I'm going to be quoting them as I go, of course. And so Dr. Gottman, through his research, distinguished between two kinds of problems. In a marriage, he says that there are two problems. One, it's a daily solvable problems, concrete daily issues that happen, that there is a solution to them. For example, your car breaks down, you know that there is a way to solve it, either buy a new one or fix it or create whatever it is that you need to really solve that problem. You're going to do it. If you've got any issues as far as you're needing food and you forgot to take food with you and you're hungry, those are all solvable issues, right? The issues that we're talking about today are issues that have a lot to do with your personality, with your needs, with your wishes, with interest as well. For example, the differences are going to be, like I just said, is in your values. What you value is very different than what your wife values. These perpetual problems account a lot of times about 70% of difficulties in a marriage. So if you're running into those problems, to not get discouraged. Couple find themselves stuck because the same problem occurs again and again and again. So the key here, it's going to be, and I'm just going to ask you some questions to see, can you identify between you and your spouse two key differences between your values, your interests, and personalities. And I'm sure many of you, if you've been married for a while, or you are newlywed, or you're engaged, you're going to probably be able to really identify, which one of you is very neat and which one is not so neat, which one is prompt and likes to be punctual with time versus one that just is laid back and will get to the appointment when he gets to the appointment. Introvert means I like to be private and keep my information to myself, or I'd like to be extrovert and share it with the world and other people. And that can create a lot of problem for you as husband and wife, because you like to be private and your wife is sharing things outside, and she's very social and butterfly and likes to really share a lot of things, and that tends to bother you. Again, these issues do not change, right? These are differences, and the reason I'm mentioning it here is for you to acknowledge and know that you cannot change your partner at all. So how have these differences become evident in your relationship is the key. Identifying, understanding that sometimes these differences can lead to repeated arguments. This is really why I'm taking the time to really deal with it. Unfortunately, these arguments over the same issues that never seem to get resolved with couples are often there. And as couples, you will find yourself really, we call it, a word Dr. Gottman uses is gridlock, meaning trapped, stuck. You're looping. You keep repeating the same thing. You're going through this circle around the same topic, and you hear yourself repeating it over and over and over again. So I will be talking today about new skills that you will be able, that are really most important skills that I hope you might need to learn. And if you have them and this information is new to you, or you already have this information, it's not new to you, you can still start as a reminder just to implement some of this. And it really doesn't hurt. All of us need to be reminded as couples. My hope is that you develop greater understanding between you and your spouse, and the more understanding of which problems are happening so often, the better you'll be able to handle these issues. And that's really, again, the purpose of this hour with Bernadette, and really focusing on couples issues. It's more to really help you understand, and my hope is it becomes more rewarding as you create and as you develop and start practicing some of these skills, that you will find your relationship is much more fulfilling. Because what happens when you're having these fights, the relationship is really empty, and then you'll find yourselves not very happy at all. So again, dealing with differences, you might have heard opposites attract. Meaning, like I was saying earlier, people unconsciously choose a partner who will bring a balance to their lives. For example, you will find that for those of you who are extrovert, may end up marrying someone who's more private, right? We're saying opposites attract. The extrovert is attracted to the quiet stability of the introvert. So introverts usually are people that are quiet, that like to kind of do things more solo, and extroverts are more people that like to be very social and active, and then they lack the stability and that quiet for themselves. So then they end up marrying the opposite, and unfortunately over time, that very thing that they married, the kind of desire to balance and find a balance by marrying that spouse, they're now very angry and frustrated. So you want to really be aware again of these differences and why you chose each other. Again, this attraction to social connection of the extrovert, right? So if you're introvert and you are kind of a private person, and you want to be with a spouse, if you're the one as a husband extrovert and your wife is quite private, and you would like to really connect with her, again, just to understand why you did that and to bring that balance, it's important to accept and not force her to change. Even again, those couples who may not be considered opposite still have significant differences that can lead to problems. So some of you may say, nah, I don't think we have a lot of differences. We are compatible, but we don't have a lot of differences in our marriage. Even then, you will find that there are some issues that are a little different, right? So you may have differences in needs. Your needs are different. You need to be more, again, taking a rest in the afternoon, or when you come home, you need to have some rest, and then your husband comes home and he has got a lot of energy and he wants to move around. Your values as far as being connected to people is very different. Your personality is one that you like to be more, again, a homebody, and your husband likes to be out more. Again, these are constant problems that we're trying to bring to the forefront for you to really be clear on, if this is happening in your marriage, what to do and what skills to use. The Gottman Relationship Institute uses a term called perpetual problems. Again, these are differences, as we've been saying, in personality and needs, and these are based on one's own identity. The problem, again, to why I am mentioning this and saying you're not going to be able, we're not saying this so you can go and change each other. Not at all. This is part of who you are. This is part of your identity. This is part of your wife's sense of who she is, right? So you will not likely be able to change these things, or they're not going to go away. This is why it's important, if you're engaged, to really recognize the differences that you have together. If you are having a major problem with them, Where I see this to be a big problem is if there is an alcohol issue, unfortunately, right? So some of you would like to drink and would like to drink more than 2 glasses a day of wine, or would like to have more drinks when you're gone to parties. And as a wife, you had a family member, brother or father or mother, who had a problem with alcohol, and it is quite a version, kind of like you absolutely hate that in your marriage that your husband is doing the same thing. Again, if you're seeing those signs at the very beginning before you're even married, this is the time to make that decision and move away from this relationship. But once you get married, we're giving you tools to deal with these differences, and there is hope for them. Again, unfortunately, they don't get removed. There's a definite way, kind of there are ways where you can really start working on them together, but it is not going to be eliminated. These problems are going to be with you for the rest of your lives. This is not to depress you or discourage you, but to more give you hope and give you some tools to really use and really start changing your attitude instead of forcing a change on your spouse. Really pulling back and accepting is going to be a better way to do this, to deal with these perpetual problems. Dr. Gottman found in his research a big chunk of troubles in the marriage occur from, again, arguing about the same issues over and over and over again. He says rarely they seem to go anywhere, right? Because if you're telling your husband you are just, you like to talk and you're not a private person and you keep sharing everything with your mom and I'm telling you not to and you're not listening and I'm sick of it and you better do something about it, that kind of attitude, fighting, screaming, criticizing your spouse, blaming him, making him look like all the problem is him, these kind of issues are not going to go away, right? So in couples and as a relationship, you can cope with differences in a way that is constantly criticizing one another. What we want to do is really look at which ways can you deal with this in a healthy way that will lead and will move you away from gridlock, will move you away from being trapped and stuck, will move you away from constantly repeating the same issue over and over. Because gridlock and stuck conversations frustrate both of you partners, right? I'm sure many of you, as you're listening, you can relate to issues or topics. It could be either around parenting, right? Or it could be over finances, where one of you likes to spend a lot of money and doesn't feel like it's a problem, and the other feels like we have to really watch what we're spending, and it is harmful to your marriage. So again, this is all about perspective and respecting each other. The couple, as couple become more entrenched in your problems and feel that you cannot move forward, that's where the gridlock and that trapped, stuck point happens. And you end up seeing each other as, we call it villains or enemies. And the reason you see that is because your discussions are filled with destructive, 4 horsemen behaviors. And I've talked about these behaviors in the past, but they're worth repeating every time. These behaviors are constant criticism. How stupid are you? What's wrong with you? Right? So you will be words that you're using like that, or you're constantly counter-attacking by defending yourself and being very defensive. Your wife says, I'm really mad, and you say, well, good. I'm glad you're mad because I don't care. Right? That kind of arguing doesn't really help the relationship. That kind of discussion, what it does, it escalates it, and it makes it where it really moves to being very contemptuous and disgusted with one another. And then if you're disgusted with one another and you start insulting each other, either by rolling your eyes or by turning your back on one another, or by just saying, I don't care. I'm going to just keep doing what I'm doing, and I don't care whatever you say. And that doesn't really solve anything. What it does do is it really creates more rupture in your relationship. And the more you defy one another and do things that are really completely not healthy and helpful to your relationship, what it does, it leads into now building walls in your relationship. And we call those stonewalling. So again, your discussion will be very empty in your marriage if you're constantly really building those walls against each other. Excuse me, you will find that there is no fun. It's empty of joy. That your relationship there's no playfulness in it. There is no sense of humor. There is no affection. And you cannot really, if you are constantly engaging in the four horsemen, the criticism, the defensiveness, the being disgusted with one another, the putting walls up and not wanting to discuss these issues, again, what that does is, all it does is you're not really treating each other as a cherished spouse, as someone significant. And unfortunately, what happens is this creates a major, significant emotional distance between you. And no one is going to be able to solve that for you. You're going to have to really start changing some of these behaviors to really, as soon as you notice, again, if it's a habit that you know you do this in your marriage, the best way to deal with it, as you are now being aware, understanding your habits of how you deal with a marriage and understanding how your wife does this, is to stop each other from engaging in that kind of way. And what you can do with your wife, if she is scolding you, screaming, blaming you, just say, stop. This is very critical and I don't like it. I'm feeling like I'm treated like a child. And I'm going to share some examples of constant and solvable problems again. And it is really important, again, for you just to acknowledge and recognize these examples. Again, it's going to be differences in needing life to be more exciting. One of you likes to be more engaged in parties. You want to go outside more. And the other person likes to sit home and doesn't want to really engage in any activities outside. Differences may be with respect to drugs and alcohol. One of you has more tolerance of drugs and alcohol than the other, meaning one of you will kind of say, hey, I like to drink. And unfortunately, the other part, it may be that you're drinking, using drugs, marijuana, and other things. And again, all these issues are going to create a lot of problem in a marriage. And if you're finding yourself, and I'm going to have a whole topic on alcoholism, not the next program, the next, and it is really being really cautious and careful. If you are losing, meaning you're drinking and binging so much, and you're finding that you are drunk at least a couple times a month, there is a problem with your drinking. And you want to really address that issue. Otherwise, that perpetual issue with drinking, it escalates more and more, and it just brings damage to home. It brings more damage to your relationship outside, to your work, and legally to driving, that you can get in trouble with the law. So we want to really monitor all these perpetual problems and manage them in a way where you are able to cope with them. Differences may be in attitudes about work. One of you would like to work many hours, does not see anything wrong with working 12 hours a day. And the other believes that you need to be, as a spouse and a partner, you should work less. You should spend more time at home with family. Again, those differences are really important to discuss and just acknowledge. It may be differences that one of you wants to be more dominant in decision making, right? So kind of one of you, I've had a couple in the past where the husband liked to make sure that his decision, that he was a decision maker, that he needed to know that his wife is going to listen to his decision, and he needed to be the dominant one in the relationship. And the wife felt like that husband is just controlling the whole conversation, and she doesn't like it. And so when they came to therapy, we worked on how can his wife understand his need to why he's wanting that decision to be his first. And really understanding that helped his wife to really now look at it and not feel like she's a victim in that marriage. One person likes to socialize, like I've said before, more than the other. The other differences are there's a habit of being late to things. And I think I mentioned being prompt, and the other just being laid back. One partner wants more understanding, right, and gentleness with your children. And the other partner goes, I don't think that's necessary, right? So again, finding that middle line is really important. One of you is very strict with your children, and the other goes, I think you need to let go a little bit. I think you're being way, way too strict with our children. One of you, partners and husband or wife, likes to conserve financially. You like to not spend a lot of money on certain things, and the wife goes, I really think we have the money and we can do that. One of you likes more independent from family, where the other says, I want to really be connected to my parents. And you as a husband are saying, I don't want to be as connected with my family. Once a month is enough. And you're saying, nope, I want to be connected more often. One of you is emotionally more expressive. You're able to say what you're feeling and how you feel about it, and the other one is very quiet, and you feel like you're eaten alive by your spouse, right? So if you're the husband who doesn't talk as much and expresses his feelings, and the wife likes to express it, you may want to say, hey, please stop. I kind of have a hard time expressing. I need you to give me some time to understand what you're saying, right? So again, to not feel engulfed, to not feel like you're not really having a lot of voice. You need to really start addressing some of these as well. One partner prefers more time alone, while the other one likes to be spending a lot of time together, right? So one spouse may end up wanting to watch programs and play video games, do whatever it is that he wants by himself, and the other one goes, I really would like to spend more time. And then there's that fight about one husband, kind of the husband likes just to really be alone doing his activities, and the wife is feeling very much disconnected. And again, those are differences that we're talking about. We call perpetual, ongoing, constant, and resolvable. And so what you want to do is you want to be able to really understand and come to some compromise where you can work through that. One likes to go to parties and dance and meet new people and dance with new people, and the other is very shy and feels very much left to their own devices, meaning if a wife is the shy one and you're sitting at a party and the husband is talking with other people and she feels like she's really left behind. Those are, again, unsolvable problems that if you start opening and talking about them, you can work through them. One has an issue with jealousy and things that at parties, right, the partner is flirting around with others. And if it is you, monitor that and be respectful of your husband's wish to not do that. Again, I know it's quite difficult that you may say, well, this is who I am and that's how I talk and I don't mean anything by it. But the key is if it's bothering your spouse, you need to really, really listen and start working on what you can do to understand your wife's issue with this. One of you partners likes to have more sexual intimacy, and while the other one wants it less often. One likes less and the other wants more often. Again, it's all about understanding these needs, and there's nothing wrong with them. The goal in all of this is that to not try, as I have been saying, to not try to change your partner. What you want to be able to do here is you want to be able to enter into conversation about these problems that allows your partner to move past gridlock. Again, we really are working on opening these discussions and not making it where you end up getting into this stuck point that you can't really move beyond the gridlock. The purpose will be is to learn to move from intense, heated discussions to more cooperative stance that can help you, and it can help result in a win-win resolution for both of you, where both of you are working as a team. What Dr. Gottman has found from all the work that he's done with couples for 40 years now and more, he found that in every conflict, there is a dream. There is a deeper wish. There is a need. There is a value. And these are differences again, and you will need different skills to deal with that kind of perpetual problem. You need to look beyond the surface, meaning if your husband is mad at you, you want to really not immediately counter back and fight back by screaming, but understand, was there anything that happened at work that is created this problem for him, and understanding the deeper meaning to what happened exactly and why he is so angry right now, right? So it is understanding that is going to help you to not take this and make it personal. It's more understanding and uncovering underneath the issue. At the deeper unspoken needs and wishes that are fueling this issue, right? These dreams represent underlying hope. There's an aspiration, a wish that each one of you would like your partner to meet those needs for you. These wishes are symbolic. What happens is when these wishes and needs are threatened, what that means is when you're mad and you're needing your husband to be really affectionate and kind, and he comes home and he's screaming, and what happens immediately, as soon as you feel that need of him is not attending to you, you start reacting to him and you start scolding and getting really angry. What you do, instead of getting him to get closer to you, he now feels that really insulted and hurt, and he's going to stay away from you more, right? So again, what we're doing here is understanding underlying issue. What is intensifying this conflict? Are you really believing and taking this personal that your husband is really so mean that he doesn't want to really value you as a human being, right? If you have not felt that way at home, and that need from childhood is there for you, and now in your current marriage, you will find the discussion is going to lead to that a lot. And that issue, that lack of being cared for and being treated as valuable, is going to really lead to more intensified conflict. So that may be beneath the surface. In order for your partner to move beyond the gridlock, you must come to an understanding. And understanding is not going to happen with you being very critical, with you being very abusive, with your voice very loud, with you screaming, with you scolding your wife, with you looking at her and blaming her how disgusted you are at her or cursing her, right? So to come to an understanding that there is a deeper meaning that is present, but again, you're not able to verbalize it because a lot of times this is kind of so unconscious and you're not aware of it. And again, with this opening the conversation and deepening your understanding, again, not having this pattern, this behavior of scolding each other is going to help to open the conversation, and your wife or your husband will feel much safer. And your tone of voice is going to have to really be lowered. These needs and wishes and wants from your childhood that each one of you, unconsciously again, are now really brought to the surface in your marriage. And what happens, they can represent often a deeper meaning to you. And what you need to do, and this is what I'm going to be talking about, some tools that you can start understanding the deeper meaning, and then you can really now ask for those things. Those needs and wishes from your childhood may be the result of the experiences that you are finding yourself fighting constantly, right? There is this lack and threat that is constantly there. For example, one partner was not treated well as a child. So if you're a husband who was not treated well by your parents and your family members, and you were neglected a majority time, your parents were very busy with the other siblings, and now your wife, you hope that she is going to be cherishing you more. You hope that your wife is going to really treat you with much more affection and love. And when she starts demanding or asking for things and constantly demanding and not acknowledging you, you're going to find yourself being really threatened. And you're not feeling very fulfilled in this relationship. And unfortunately, this triggers you to feel that the relationship is just not worth fighting for. But it's really the bigger issues that are really driving a lot of this are the issues from the past of oftentimes, right? So we want to make sure that you're understanding yourself and you're allowing your wife to understand you. Many of these deeper meanings are not as obvious and are really often hidden from you even, the husband, right? So if you've struggled with neglect, oftentimes because that happened to you for so long that you really don't understand why you're reacting when someone is neglecting you, your wife is neglecting you. And my hope now is for you to acknowledge that this awareness allows you, and this wish for you to be cherished. You can actually ask your wife to treat you as a cherished individual and as a cherished husband, right? So again, subsequently, what happens is this may end up really leading to problems, and you'll find yourself your dreams are not getting met, and the issues just end up intensifying when again the issue is really a lot deeper. So an analogy of this would be to kind of think of it like this. It would be that you can view both of you partners clench fists in opposition against each other. And both of you have a dream that is not getting accomplished. And what happens when you're really understanding each other and allowing each other and putting your guards down and really speaking in a gentle tone of voice in a way that is respectful, when you open your hands, imagine this fist that's holding on to all the desires and wishes. There's a dream that could be released from that opening your fists. Think of it that by you allowing yourself to open, you're actually now are going to be able much more to deal with what you're needing. You're going to get all your needs met that way. But by clenching your fist, you're not going to go very far. You're just going to be butting heads, and the fights just escalate, unfortunately, which lead to domestic violence and lead to really louder and louder voice, and no one wins. No one wins in that way. There are 3 steps and 3-step process to break through the gridlock. And in these 3 steps, both of you have to engage. Both of you must put the effort in to really break through this stuck point you're in. Again, it's not impossible, as I'm saying, those unresolved problems are not impossible to discuss, but they need to be discussed in a way that is respectful to one another. The first step is that each one of you need to explain your starting position. You need to really regarding the problem that you are discussing. Very important that you pick one issue. Oftentimes, when a husband is willing to hear, the wife brings up several issues and she wants to resolve them all. And the same happens for a husband as well. I'm not picking on only wives here. Husbands could also do the same with their wives. Please pick only on one topic and make it a priority that you feel like it's an issue and that is the topic you want to be addressing. So each one of you need to pick a topic that both of you are not seeing eye to eye, and you're locked in this gridlock, stuck. And anytime you start opening this up, just things get so heated and intensified, and you find yourself not being able to really even talk in such a way that feels that you're being heard. And so what you need to do is discuss one issue and make it really clear. Share with each other that you want to work together. You want to be able to agree on one of these issues to work on. So decide which issues you want to deal with. Is it parenting? Is it alcohol? Is it the issue with mother-in-law? Is it the issue with your relationship and your intimate relationships that are a problem for you? Is it the way that you argue? What is the issue? Right? So as means of learning a new conflict management skill, this is kind of what we're really presenting here. When both of you agree on an issue, you will then focus on step 1. So first, you need to clarify what is it you want to deal with before you move forward. Express and state your personal point of view. So if it's a problem around the mother-in-law, and again, you're feeling that your wife is spending a lot of time with her mom, and she is not coming home, and your mother-in-law and her are talking about you badly, you need to really be addressing that issue and state how you feel about it. Express it saying, I feel like I'm not valuable to you. I feel left out. I feel neglected. I feel, for me, like your mom is more important than me. By you saying that, and you as a wife, you need to really listen to that. You can do this by, again, taking turns. So as a wife, please make sure that you are listening. And you will take turns as a speaker and listener, and both of you will have a chance to explain. And I'm going to present some guidelines as a speaker, meaning if you, the husband, are feeling so frustrated and you're tired of this and you're needing your wife to really listen to you, then begin the conversation first and you be the speaker. Please use your soft startup, meaning be gentle and start by addressing and describing you, by focusing on what's bothering you, by focusing on what you want instead of what you don't want. I want you to make time for me instead of, I don't want you going to your mom, I don't need this anymore. That doesn't help really. Stay away from blaming her. You're not caring about me. You're always focusing on your mom. You're so stupid. That's criticizing her. Describe your own position. I would like to feel important to you. I really, instead of you constantly spending more time with your family, I need you to spend time with me. Don't try to persuade and influence your partner when you are speaking. During this exercise, your job as a husband is to help your wife understand you. And as a wife, now you're the listener. What you need to do is don't share your point of view. You're going to have a chance to also take turns, and you will have a chance to give and express your point of view, to state your feelings. As a listener, please focus on listening to your partner with openness. Openness means don't sit there and think about what are you going to say next when it's your turn. Really be present and open your heart and your ears and your mind to really understand your husband. Ask questions. Clarify if you're not understanding. Even if you feel frustrated and you don't agree with him, please make sure that you are sitting there and listening and waiting until your turn comes up. But now your job is to more ask questions and listen. When things don't make sense, ask questions. Show him evidence that you have heard him. Let him know, let me see what I'm hearing you tell me. I hear that you are very frustrated with me. I hear that you are tired of me spending a whole day with my mom and you're home and I'm not coming home early. I hear that, paraphrase it. Help your husband understand that you care. Take turns afterwards. You don't want to be spending more than 10 minutes, both of you. It's really 5 minutes each. This finding, again, a dream within this conflict, our first part doesn't need to take more than 5-10 minutes, right? As a listener and a speaker, and both of you allow each other again to speak in such a way where you have both roles. After both of you presented your point of view and express your feelings and your position, you move to the second point. The second point, what you do now, you take the time to explore the deeper meaning. What is the want for you? Why is it so important that you want your wife to come home and spend time more with you than her mom? What is your need? What is your wish? Right? Is it that, hey, I lived in a home and I grew up in a home where my mom was always busy. My dad was not available. I didn't have anyone caring for me as much, and I did things solo. And that just really makes me really mad, and that is just something I don't want to do. Right? So what you want to do is gain an understanding of your husband. And the way we gain an understanding is by being there and listening. Focus and really focus on the issue and look at it as a teamwork. Shifting, again, your attitude from one of opposition where I don't care, I don't know what's wrong with him, why he has a problem with my mom, to really a position where it says, this is a team, this is my husband, he is important to me, and I need, in order for this marriage to thrive and be healthy, I need to really listen and make sure that I'm understanding his needs. Again, as a speaker, when you are sharing a deeper meaning about your values, needs, what you need to do, verbalize the deeper meaning for you that was buried inside. Share. Often during this exercise, what I find couples when they're sharing how they lived in a home that they felt so alone and neglected, the husband often, when the wife is sharing this, the husband goes, well, I didn't know that about you. Share what it is in your background or earlier experiences that might help explain why this is so important to you. Why is it important to you that you as a husband, you want your wife to come home? As a listener, accept your partner's deeper meaning without judgment, without criticism. Excuse me. So if the husband says, I was neglected, my mom wasn't home, don't laugh at that, please. Everything that your husband is sharing, you want to really hold it as a sacred thing. I know it's quite hard sometimes when it doesn't agree with you, but it is important. You will have your chance as well. Ask questions to highlight your partner's concerns. For example, what is important in this for you? Why is this issue so important? What do you wish for from me? Wait to listen to what your husband is going to say. What in your background might explain why this is so important to you. After, again, 5 minutes, switch roles as a speaker and as a listener, that both of you were able to explore these deeper meanings within this conflict. And when both of you have explained your deeper meanings, one of you may summarize the deeper meaning of both of you and both of the needs that you had. The third point here is that you want to negotiate. We want to negotiate where it's a win-win, that you honor the underlying need and wish of your husband and your wife. Each one of you clarifies which piece of this deeper meaning, which the bottom line here, that you are willing to agree on. The piece that is most important to your spouse, that you will make sure that you will start honoring that. Together, again, brainstorm possible ideas that you may strategize and really satisfy the bottom line issue for both of you. It is your job as a husband, your job as a wife to meet and to acknowledge your wife's needs, and for you, wife, to acknowledge your husband's needs. These solutions and resolutions And to satisfy that deeper meaning depends on both of you. And it can be that one of you wins and the other loses. It's got to be win-win. You've got to really be taking care of both of your needs, and it can't be that you make sure your needs are met, and that is selfishness. Make sure both of you partners are in agreement with the resolution. Summarize the agreed upon resolution and revisit this. Because again, when it's gridlock and issues are very difficult and you're stuck in, make sure you revisit and acknowledge and work through to make sure that you're meeting the need of each other. Please modify this and make it a point. Again, in summary, it is really, really important as couples. Yet you need to be able to develop a cooperative spirit that allows you as a partner and as partners to search out and respect each other's important needs and concerns. Nobody else outside needs to be meeting those but you two. Please plan a time to work through your perpetual problems using the conflict skills that I discussed here, the dream within the conflicts, through the 3-step process. And now, as we end with what we've done, I'm going to go to a story. And this story, the title of it, it's called Blind Love. The story was taken from the Spiritual Stories and Reflections, and I apologize to our Bishop Basil Yeldu for using and saying often, "by Father," and thank you for one of the viewers of our Facebook who corrected me on that one. So yes, this is taken from our Bishop Basil Yeldu's book, and the story is taken from that. There was a young lady who was blind from birth. She lived in a small village. She was in love with a young man. She loved him so much through his kind words and his genuine love that he expressed for her. This love story was filled with passion for one another. The only one obstacle that the young lady had a problem that she couldn't really see. She was blind. So she told him that she would marry him if she was able to see him with her own eyes. One day, a person came forward and donated his eyes to this young lady. After surgery, the young lady was able to see. For the first time, she was able to see her lover, but to her dismay, to her shock, he was blind. Her dreams were shattered. She became very discouraged and depressed over this issue. Her lover approached her and asked her, "Would you marry me now that you can see me?" She responded by telling him that she will not marry him because he was blind. The young man smiled and said to her, "I hope you will take care of my eyes that I donated you." The moral of the story is that our spouses, our friends, our lovers, and our friends will hurt us and betray us at the same time. Trust, though, that our Lord Jesus Christ not only gave us his eyes, but he sacrificed his whole life as a ransom for all of us. He did all of this to open our eyes and to shine his light, to shed his light and shine it in our hearts and to awaken the Holy Spirit in us. There is no greater love than this, where one sacrifices his life for his loved ones. And our closing prayer, it's Amazing Grace. How sweet the sound that saved a wretch like us as couples. We once were lost, but now we are found, thanks to you, Lord. We were blind, but now we see by relying on you, Lord. It was grace that taught our hearts to fear. And again, without him, we cannot really move forward. And grace, our fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour we first believed. As we're talking about these difficult issues, you have a God, a very loving God, who is there for you and sent his only Son to die for all of us, you and me. By relying on him, you will be able to deal with these constant problems that we are talking about. And these problems, you can really discover, as we've kind of said earlier, what is the dream, what is the need, and why these conflicts are happening. So again, continuing with our prayers, through many dangers, toils, and snares, we have already come. And that's my hope, as we're offering all these tools and new skills to you, that you'll be able to overcome all the difficulties. Maybe not all of them, but some of them. It is grace that brought us safe thus far. And grace will lead us home. This is by John Newton, Amazing Grace. In conclusion, and again, I cannot emphasize enough how important it is for all of us, and my hope is, if I said any of these skills and it was hard for you to follow, to please review the Facebook. That's the option you have, and it is there for you that you can go back, and if this is a problem that you want to really learn some of these skills, because any new skill that we want to apply, it takes 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes 9 weeks, to really implement and learn and start improving. I pray that I provided you with sufficient information. I want to thank you for watching us on Facebook and listening on Chaldean Radio app. I hope you will become a regular viewer of this program on Facebook and a regular listener on Chaldean Radio app. I will meet with you again in our next program on Thursday, July 11th from 7 to 8. Don't forget to share this program with your friends and relatives, and let them know this program is replayed tomorrow at 6:30 in the evening and on Saturday at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. I would like to give a special thanks to all of you who are supporting us by watching this program, by contributing financially, either through finances or also through your comments. Very, very valuable, and I appreciate you doing all of that. I encourage you to become a regular listener again, to help us bring this program, and this program like this, to support the community. And I cannot share enough or request enough to really share this program with others. My hope is it really improves lives and our couples, and it starts bringing marriages to a much more healthier place. That's really my hope from kind of doing this program the whole time. I will make sure to bring different topics to meet the need of our families. The topics in 2 weeks, the next topic will be in Arabic, and the title of it will be Applying Forgiveness in Your Marriage. I will do my very best to answer your questions, as I've said before. I just encourage you to be careful when you're writing your comments. If you're saying anything about your marriage that's negative, or it feels like it's really insulting or criticizing your spouse, just note that everyone else is going to hear it, right? So I'm just encouraging you to be aware of that, to really take note of that, to not share private informations if you're not wanting the world or the people that are listening to it to hear it. Again, I will do my best to answer your questions and comments through the live program, as I'm doing right now, as best as I can. Please feel free to share again your feedback on Facebook and your comments and topics that you would like to hear of. This program will be live every other Thursday on Facebook from 7 to 8 p.m. And again, it will be replayed the next day, Fridays 6:30, Saturdays at 2 p.m. and on Chaldean Radio app for those of you who are not able to watch it or view it on Facebook. I look forward to serving you in the next 2 weeks. May God richly bless you all. I am Bernadette, and I care about you.